Marvin Redpost, kidnapped at birth. Chapter 1 to 3. Chapter 1, Royal Blood. Marvin Redpost put down his pencil. He was the first one done. He took his report to Mrs. North. Mrs. North looked at it. "I can't read this," she said. He had to copy it over. "Neither this time, Marvin," said Mrs. North. Marvin frowned. He was in third grade. His class had been learning cursive writing. "It's because I'm left-handed," Marvin complained. "It's impossible to write neatly when you're left-handed. Everything is backward." "I'm left-handed," said Mrs. North. "Oh," said Marvin. "You're lucky to be left-handed," said Mrs. North. "It means we have royal blood." She smiled at him. "You run neater if you slow down," she said. "It isn't a race." He returned to his seat. He picked up his pencil and wrote as fast as he could. He had to write twice as fast this time, but just to catch up with everyone else. He had to write a report or something he read in Current Events. Current Events was a newspaper for children. This is what Marvin wrote. "The king of Champagne is looking for his lost son. The son's name is Prince Robert. Prince Robert is kidnapped the day he was born. That was 9 years ago. And Prince Robert is 9 years old. He has red hair and blue eyes, unless he's dead. The king is going all around the world looking for his lost son. He hopes he isn't dead. So do I. This week, the king is in Washington, D.C. The end." Marvin finished writing just as the bell rang for recess. What a lucky guy. He gave his report to Mrs. North and ran outside to play with wild ball. Marvin was 9 years old. He had red hair. He had blue eyes. He lived in a small town not too far from Washington, D.C. Chapter 2. You Can Do Anything. Marvin had two best friends, Stuart Albright and Nick Tuffy. After school, they all went to Stuart's house. "Put your dog outside," said Nick. Nick was brave. He once rode his bike full speed down the Suicide Hill, but he was afraid of Fluffy, Stuart's little white dog. Marvin petted Fluffy. "Careful, he's going to bite you," said Nick. Fluffy growled at Nick. "He's a good dog," said Marvin. Fluffy licked Marvin's fingers. Stuart put Fluffy outside. Where'd you get that stupid dog?" asked Nick. "Fluffy's not stupid," said Stuart. "He is too," said Nick. "He looks like he's a rat that ran through a cotton candy machine." "We got him a pound," said Stuart. I picked him out myself." "Well, you picked the wrong dog," said Nick. "I did too." Marvin was afraid they would get into a fight. Nick and Stuart were always getting into fights. "I think my parents picked the wrong baby," Marvin said. "Huh?" asked Nick. "What?" said Stuart. "At the hospital," said Marvin. "They took the wrong baby home. They're not really my parents." He had been thinking about this all day. He didn't really believe it. He just wanted to keep his best friends from fighting. "I was kidnapped the day I was born," said Marvin. You are Prince Robert, exclaimed Stuart. Stuart was stunned. Its sentence amazed Marvin how quickly he caught on to things. Say what? Asked Nick. Marvin's parents are really the king and queen of Ch.1, Stuart explained. Wait a second, said Nick. Mr. and Mrs. Redpost? No way. No, said Stuart. Don't you remember what we read in the current events? The prince was kidnapped at birth. So, said Nick, so Marvin is really Prince Robert, said Stuart. Say what? Asked Nick. I've red hair and blue eyes, said Marvin. Everyone else in my family have brown hair and brown eyes. I am left-handed. That means I have royal blood. Wait a second, said Nick. If your parents are the king and queen of Ch.1, then how did you end up in the hospital here? Marvin thought for a moment, and he hadn't figured that part out. Simple, said Stuart. The kidnapper had to hide the baby somewhere. No better place to hide a baby than a bunch of other babies in hospital. That's right, said Marvin. Oh, said Stuart. Maybe you're adopted. Maybe they're adopted. They just haven't told you. I bet you that is, said Nick. The kidnappers left you in the garbage bin. Then the policeman found you and took you to an orphanage. Then Mr. and Mrs. Redpost adopted you. Or else, Stuart whispered, Mr. and Mrs. Redpost might be the kidnappers. You get to live in a castle, said Nick, and you're going to have hundreds of servants. You'll never have to make your bed again. Marvin shrugged. You have so much of money, said Nick. You could buy anything you want. You walk into the store, you see something you want, you just buy it. You could buy a car, Marvin laughed. I'm too young to drive, he said. Duh, said Nick. No one is going to give the prince a ticket. You can do anything, darn. I wish I had red hair and blue eyes. You're so lucky, Marvin. Man, some people have all the luck. I'm not lucky, Marvin reminded him. I was unlucky to be kidnapped. We just have to figure out a way to tell the king, said Stuart. And you can't let your parents know. If they're kidnappers, they'll kill you for sure. Chapter 2. I think I missed to say... Oh, I did. Chapter 3. Marvin sees the king. Marvin Redpost lived in a gray house. There was a fence around the house. The fence was all white except for one red post. He slapped the red post as he walked through the gate. He had an older brother, Jacob, who was 11, and a younger sister, Lindsay, who was 4. Jacob met him at the front door. Watch out, Ma, he said. Mom's mad. I'm not mad, said her mother, coming up behind him. She sounded mad. Go clean up your room, she told Jacob. I already cleaned my room, said Jacob. Clean it again, she said. Then help Lindsay with hers. Jacob was bright. She was mad. And where have you been? She asked Marvin. Ask yours, he said. Grandma and Grandpa are coming over. I forgot. You should have called, said his mother. You didn't tell me you're going to Stuart's house. I had no idea where you were. I always go to Stuart's or Nick's, said Marvin. You are supposed to call," said his mother. "You could have been kidnapped for all I knew." Okay, I'm sorry," said Marvin. He went upstairs to his room. "I was kidnapped for all you know," he muttered to himself. He wondered if his mother could see that she was really a kidnapper. Probably not. "I want you to do your homework." "I want you to do your homework!" his mother yelled up to him. "Before Grandma and Grandpa gets here." Okay, Marvin muttered. Marvin had a pet lizard named General Jackson. General Jackson lived in a glass cage next to Marvin's desk. "He probably has no idea at first, Robert," said Mrs. Marvin told the General. "If she did, she wouldn't yell at me. She'll serve me a breakfast in the bed every morning." Is that true? General Jackson stuck his tongue out. For homework, Marvin had to practice his handwriting. He wrote as fast as he could. "I was a prince," he said. "I wouldn't have to do homework. A servant would do it for me." He finished his homework. Then he walked downstairs. His grandparents still had not arrived. His father was watching television in the den. "Dad," said Marvin, "was I adopted?" "What? No, of course not." "Would you tell me if I was?" "Yes, but you weren't." Marvin rubbed his chin. His father seemed to be telling the truth. "What happened when I was born?" Marvin asked. "What? Did anything unusual happen?" His father looked away from the television. It seems there was something, Dad. I forgot what it was, but it was a false alarm. You were fine." He turned back into the television. "Did they take me away?" asked Marvin. "Or was I with Mom every single second?" His father sighed. "No, you weren't with Mom every single second." "Can we please talk about this later? I'm trying to watch the news." "Well, when I came back," said Marvin. "Did I look different?" "What?" "Okay, Marvin, like 3 days after I was born." "Did I look exactly the same as the day I was born?" "I don't remember. Probably not. Babies change quickly." "What did I look like when I was born?" "You looked like a baby. All babies look pretty much the same. Now, please, Marvin, I want you to watch this." The doorbell rang. Marvin heard his grandparents enter. His father called him. "Come on, Mar," he said. But now Marvin was watching TV. The King of Shampoo was on the news. The king had wavy red hair underneath his gold crown. "I don't know if my son is alive or dead," said the king. "Except he's still with a strange accent. So he studied accent. So it sounded like, I don't know if my son is alive or dead." The king's face filled the TV screen. He spoke. "Robert, if you're listening out there, please call me. Return to your rightful place on the throne. We need you." Your kingdom awaits you. Except it sounded like we need you. Your kingdom awaits you. The newsman came on. If you think you may know someone who is Prince Robert, you should beep the television shut off. The television, Mr. Redpost put the remote control switch. Let's not keep Grandma and Grandpa waiting, he said. Marvin's grandparents were making a big fuss over Lindsay. You're so pretty, Lindsay, said his grandmother. You look more and more like your mother every day. And Jacob, you're a spitting image of your father. What do I look like, Grandma? Asked Marvin. His grandmother smiled at him. You look like... She stopped and thought for a moment. You look like both your parents, she said. But Marvin knew she was just saying that. She really meant he didn't look like either of them. He knew whom he looked like. He had just seen his face on the television. He looked like the king of shampoo. The end of my video.